one guy was sent to Siberia and had his balls electrocuted. He was running a underground press in Austria to smuggle into the communist countries.
Really?
And guess who was the mule?
There is reason they joke about the KGB.
We were trained on how to notice if the KGB are following you.
Because when you think of mule and smuggling things into other countries, it's not Bibles, it's drugs.
It's drugs, correct.
The level of confidence that you had that
we're newbies.
I know what I'm doing. I checked them. We're not being followed.
We're not
we
being
got
followed.
This.
We got this. They're like
you've outsmarted the KGB of all.
Now, to them, to the communists at this time, Bibles were considered as bad as drugs or pornography. I look up and there's a 6'5" guy, 250 pounds. Passport! Give me your passport! Okay, so that's a long story, but we've got an hour, right?
Well, however long you want to tell it.
Okay, well, I'm going to start the story with how I became a clown. It actually starts with when I was 19, I fortunately got saved, which for the Christians, that means receiving Jesus as your Lord and Savior. And now this podcast, if you're not Christian, don't back away, because this is fun for everybody. So I was 19. I was I had a scholarship for mathematics at the University of Bishops in Canada, which is it's the prestigious business.
So you're from Canada?
I'm from Canada. Yes, that's right. I still say a, and I still say about.
How did you end up in New Orleans?
You want that now?
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's okay. Let's do that. How I ended up here in New Orleans is actually, it goes along with the clown story.
Mm-hmm.
I had met a couple that were based out of Austria in the year 83, 84, 85. They were printing, the husband was a kind of like you, a jack of all trades. I kind of think this guy's amazing. And this guy could do everything from mechanics he was really a carpenter, but he could do mechanics. He could fix anything. And he was running a underground press in Austria. We can say it now. We couldn't say it before. And he was printing out gospel material to smuggle into the communist countries.
Really?
And guess who was the mule? So I was the mule, one of many. Not many, maybe 20. About 20 of us were crazy enough to do this. I was young. I was like 26, 27 years old. And
what was in it for you then, if you were the mule?
In it for me was serving God.
Interesting.
Just serving God. I mean, I was so excited about it.
Because when you think of mule and smuggling things into other countries, it's not Bibles, it's drugs.
It's drugs. Correct.
That's interesting.
It was very scary. A friend of mine had taken this course, had gone to Austria and taken this training on how to smuggle, gospel literature and Bibles into the communist countries. And so I went, and when I went, though, there was only 2 of us that were training at the same time. Usually there was more. And so we were trained on how to notice if the KGB are following you, especially. That was the most important thing. And also training us to be very in tune with our intuition. That's very, very important. And to really be sensitive, like when you should talk to somebody and not talk to somebody. Because it was explained to us that there's going to be KGB everywhere. It could be an 80-year-old lady sweeping the floor. It could be a 15-year-old girl serving you coffee at the coffee shop. They could be anywhere. Well, anyways, after we took we finished our training, they said, normally we don't send 2 newbies together. However, you guys excelled in your course, and if you're brave enough, you could, do a mission, both of you together. Now, they had it set up where they had financiers who would finance our trips. And we were told repeatedly, if at any time you feel that there's danger, you feel your life is in danger, or something's amiss, or something's wrong, or you're about to get caught, or whatever, you can abort the mission at any time. if they bought your tickets and they paid for your hotels and or your train or your bus, whatever way you were going, don't worry about it. That's the last of our concerns.
Yeah, what I find interesting is that this is like an underground type of thing, but they're funding it. You guys are training for it, but there's no glory in this.
No, there was no glory at all.
This is just something that you just felt you had to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's a huge risk for
I'll tell
what
you how,
seems to be not much reward.
Right. Well, the risk was much more serious because what happened was a couple of days before we took our first trip, and we were going to go by train from Austria through Czechoslovakia into Poland. Now, Russia was the big bad boy. You didn't do your first mission to Russia. In fact, Poland was pretty risky. Normally, they'd send you like to Hungary and other countries that were communist, but they didn't want to be.
There is reason they joke about the KGB.
Yeah, right. The KGB, right.
I've practiced my Russian voice.
But very good. You got it really good.
Actually, I was on a cruise once, and it was this guy did a Russian voice, and he was from Russia. He might have even been KGB. I have no idea. But I was joking with him in KGB voice, and I was talking to him like this. And after the end of it, I stopped talking like this, and he goes, and I just start talking normal, and he goes, "Oh, you better watch out. Like you better not do that to the wrong person." He was just a comedian, and I just was showing off my accent I practiced.
That is great. It's awesome. I love it. So we were going to go, like I said, through Czechoslovakia into Poland. And what happened is, so they finance it, the whole thing. And they told us the second you get on that train, there's going to be KGB in that train, and it could be anybody. So be careful what you say. Okay. Now, our main goal at that point was not really to evangelize inside the countries. When I said mule, I meant it. Our job was to bring the Bibles and the gospel tracts there, and then the local underground church would distribute it, not us.
Where did you hide all the Bibles, or how much could you?
We had it taped inside of our pants, all taped up, and we had some. I like your question. We had it inside our suitcases. We each had 2 suitcases inside, like the sleeves and the pants. On the bottom and the top of our suitcases were what we would call clean. So they would have to dig into the bottom and, go through your pants and stuff to find it. Now, interestingly enough, they didn't check suitcases all the time on the train. It was maybe 25% of the time, according to what they told us. So it was unlikely. Now, remember, they told us at any time you can abort. And don't feel bad about it. Don't think you're going to be kicked out. Don't think that's your last mission or whatever. So, and this other guy that I was with, I didn't know him. And he was from Belgium. And he spoke 7 languages. He was a master guitar player. He played the lute. He played the bass. He played the violin. He played everything. And he made guitars.
Oh, wow.
And he spoke 7 languages. So I'm with this guy. And so we both had our suitcases the same way. We had actually 50 New Testaments each.
Okay.
Apart from gospel tracts.
Total, okay.
No, each.
Well, yeah, right. Like 50 total just on you.
Yeah. In the suitcase. The Bibles, because they're little, the Gideon Bibles. The little little New Testament Bibles that the Gideon gives out.
Yeah.
So those were in the suitcases. We couldn't strap those. So we get on the train. And we don't sit together, because if we were to sit together, if one gets caught, you don't want the other one to get caught.
Yeah.
Now, to the communists at this time, Bibles were considered as bad as drugs or pornography.
Now, was this during the Cold War?
This was, yes. This was when, this is before the wall fell. This was when they were 100% communist.
Oh, wow.
And still wanting to dominate the world. And
so they're even tighter on the reins.
Oh, they were tight. I mean, they would take cars apart. They would, go through if you went in, because we went with many different methods, but
yeah,
people's cars were torn apart, their doors opened. I mean, they would really check a lot. Now, So we were also I'll get to that part later, I guess.
Yeah.
So we're on the train. We're in the same wagon, but he's at one end and I'm at the other end. And all of a sudden, I get very nervous. Now, remember, I'm 26 years old. Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm going to come back to another point.
That's fine.
So the other point was that...
I mean, it's a story, but, you know, it is a conversation.
It's a conversation. So what happened is, before that, I'm feeling very, very nervous. And about the trip. It's my first time, okay? You know, this is...
And you're going to the hardest of locations.
I'm going to... This is... Well, somebody, whether well-intentioned or not, brings me an article 3 days before the trip. This is why we might have to put this first. 3 days before, he brings me a newspaper article in German. He spoke German. I spoke some German. I had been studying for 6 months, so I could understand. And he shows me an article of 2 Mormons that got caught going into Czechoslovakia. They each had 5 Bibles. They were given 1 year of prison per Bible. They each got 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And he shows me this 3 days before my first trip.
You're like, man, I got 50.
And I actually calculated, I said, damn, I'd be 76 years old when I get out of here. Like, can't get married, can't have a family, can't, you know, So believe it or not, it's nice to believe, but now I'm facing basically life and death. I'm 26 years old, and I'm like, wow, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
And because he brought me that, and of course, he showed it to the other guy as well, we both had the same reaction. Says, well, let's really pray about this. I mean, do we really believe that we want to do this and that God is with us on this mission? And now I had been in South America, so I was used to bargaining. So in my mind, I was joking, saying that, well, if we did get caught, I would bargain them down to, it's only the New Testament. I mean, that's a quarter of the Bible. I mean, give me, 10 years.
That sounds like the optimistic 26-year-old.
That's what I'm saying. That's a total way a 26-year-old would react. I'm like, yeah, I'll bargain them down.
Yeah, the KGB will let me go.
You go. I mean, this New Testament, the good stuff is in the big Bible, So we get in the train. And after about 10, 15 minutes, now we had about half an hour to 45 minutes before the train would leave. And I'm feeling nervous as heck. And I'm debating in my mind. Like, if I walk off, I know they said that it's no problem or whatever. I said, they're not going to send me out again. My first time, I chicken out. What if this guy goes and everything works out perfect? I said, in my mind, I'm thinking, I know they said it, but I think my career would be over. So I'm debating like, no, it's okay. Now, an interesting thing, during the training, they kept telling us over and over again. He says, you're going to meet some scare moments. You're going to meet scare moments when you are going to become very nervous and very, worried.
Yeah.
And he says, those are just thoughts of the enemy. Rebuke them in Jesus' name and just stay positive. Okay, they told us that repeatedly. All right. So I'm just getting too nervous. And finally, I look over at the guy, and it's almost like we had telepathic communication. I looked at him, I looked at the door, and I went like, I'm going out. And he looked at me like, I'm staying. And I walked off. Took my 2 suitcases, and I walked off, and I felt totally defeated. I said, that's it. My career's over. And then intuition came to my mind. No. Change how you packed the Bibles. So I went to the bathroom at the train station, and I put all the Bibles in one suitcase. Put them in as far down as possible, put as much clothes on top.
So you got back onto the train?
And I got back on the train, and when that guy saw me, he doesn't really know me. And he looked at me like, oh, I kind of felt like, he's like, oh boy, what kind of a loopy guy do I have here? This is strange, So he kind of went like, okay, you're back. So I'm back, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling this is right. I feel good now. So off we go. Now, they also told us that when we get to the border, they at this time would have 6'5" guys, 250-pound guys, and they're going to yell at you. Okay? and they're going to try to get you scared.
Yeah.
You know, so again, don't freak out. Stay positive. It's all okay. Well, when we got to the border, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and all of a sudden I'm sleeping and I felt something cold on my hand, and I wake up, big German Shepherd licking my hand. I look up and there's a 6'5" guy, 250 pounds. Passport, give me your passport. What happened? Right away I thought, I'm caught. Just as they told me. They said you're going to experience moments of intense, anxiety and whatever. Rebuke it. And then I went, okay, in Jesus' name, no, I'm okay. In Jesus' name, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay.
This is what you're telling yourself in your mind.
In my mind.
But on the outside, you're probably frozen with fear.
Fear. Like right away, I thought, I'm caught. I mean, he's got the German Shepherd there. He's this guy, and he's passport. I'm like, Well, I give him my passport, and there's a couple of guards, and they're going around to everybody, and they're getting their passports. My partner's at the other end. Well, lo and behold, the 25% chance of them looking at our suitcases, they start looking at his suitcase.
Oh, wow.
Remember, I got to go off and he didn't?
Yeah.
So they're checking it and they find the Bibles. Oh, man. It caused such a big... It was like a bust to them, like they're getting cocaine or heroin. And so now they're
Which is crazy to think just a book would cause so much.
Oh, no. This is serious. To them, this was the most important thing. They really wanted to stamp out all kinds of Christianity. And I'll jump forward a little bit. When I eventually did go to Russia.
Well, can I ask what happened to that guy?
Yes, of course.
I want to know so bad.
No, I might not get to the clown story because this story is so amazing.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it. So what happens is, they're pulling out Bibles and they're stacking it up, and there's other guards coming in, and before you knew it, there was 6 guards on top of this guy, and they're talking on walkie-talkies, and there's a light inside going, a red light going, and this is like a big bust, and I'm in the back there, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm glad I changed my suitcase. So what happens is, now that they caught one person, they're figuring there is probably somebody else, or more. So now they're checking everybody's luggage. So when they come to me, luggage, they don't know. I mean, our luggage is stacked up. They don't know whose luggage is whose, really.
Yeah.
So I take the suitcase that has nothing in it. And I am so happy that I did that. I'm just like, this is great. So I'm opening it up. I'm pulling out my underwear, my socks, and everything. I'm just so happy. Like, here it is. Look like this. Okay. Put it back. And then I make a big mistake. In my nervousness, I'm very nervous. I'm 26 years old. You got to feel what I'm feeling here. This is
you're nervous, but you're also like, I just did it. I just got them. Look at my underwear. You want to see these? You want to show me those too?
Yeah.
But I got to imagine, even in that moment, you're still in a foreign land with the KGB and you're
right. First time, And so out of my mouth slips, do you want to see the other suitcase? Now, I know why I said that, because deep down I was thinking, if I say that, like if they ask, do you have more, or they go through everything, then, they could catch it. But if I act so positive, you
you're just trying to be honest.
Right. And the guy goes, no, it's okay. It's okay.
You, wow.
I dodged the bullet on that one. So.
Wow.
I'm okay. They take out all his stuff. Now, surprisingly, they did not pat him down.
In the moment, you were probably like, this would be a good, play to say, you want to see the other one, I'm cooperating, I don't want to cause any trouble.
Right.
And then it's, in hindsight, that wasn't a good idea.
It wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, you're probably saying, you want to check the other suitcase? Oh, no.
Right.
Why would I say that?
Oh, you have another suitcase? Oh, well, let's see it. But because I was so open, it worked.
Yeah.
So it worked. Now, they pull out all the stacks of this guy's 50 Bibles. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And they're yelling at him, and he's fluent in, he can speak German. German was the common language, that pretty much everybody knew at that time. And so he's conversing with them, and they're yelling at him. And so finally, but they didn't pat him down, which was very strange. So finally, they leave. 2 police officers or guards stay with him, and the train leaves. And I'm thinking, why are they not pulling him off? Why is he not getting arrested? And why are 2 officers staying with him? It just seemed bizarre. Well, off we go. And every check, now this train would stop every, 50 miles, 100 miles or whatever. It would stop periodically. And some officers would leave and new officers would come and they would stay with him. And off we would go.
They had him under constant surveillance.
You're right. But now, why didn't they pull him off? I did not know. And so neither did he. So he's nervous, like, when are they going to pull me off and how bad is this going to be, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost a torture for him.
He's like, I'm dead. That's not it.
Shoot me now. Why wait, right? So off we go. Eventually, the last 2 officers leave and none come on. And now he's alone. And so we get to another stop, and it stops. And it's the winter, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And now it stops, and he looks at me, and I'm looking at him. And like I said, we almost had like telepathic communication at this point. And he's looking at the window and looking at me like, should I jump out the window?
Yeah, should I make a break for it?
Should I make a break for it? Because I'm going to some serious stuff here.
Yeah.
Or
going in the gulag.
right. Or am I clean? Like they left. Like, you know, I don't know. And I kind of looked at him and I shook my head like, what are you going to do? You're in a foreign country, in Czechoslovakia. You're in this podunk little town. I mean, I don't know. How would you get back?
Yeah, I mean, you jump out and you get away, but you're still stuck. And if you get caught, it might be worse.
Right.
If you stay and wait it out, who knows what'll happen.
Right. Well, maybe you are clean. Maybe they just wanted the Bibles. Maybe, whatever.
Yeah, that's a tough call.
Very tough call. So finally, he decides not to jump out. And so then all of a sudden, I'm thinking, wait a minute. We're going to Prague. Prague is the capital. If this is going to be a big international affair, because they're going to have to, there's going to be diplomats involved in this. His country's going to be involved, and this is going to make news, probably international news, especially 50 Bibles. If the Mormons with 5 Bibles each made the news, what's this going to do, right?
Yeah, and you had to be sitting in your seat just sweating.
Oh, I didn't sleep after that.
Yeah, I mean, you had to be completely alert.
Yes, exactly, and in prayer. Yeah, no, it's not. I'm not praying because I'm disciplined. I'm praying because I have to.
Did those thoughts come to your mind where you were like, maybe I shouldn't go, and maybe I shouldn't, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done this when you're in the middle of it?
No, after he checked my suitcase and I was clean and everything, I felt good. I felt sorry for him, but I felt like, wow, I did my job and this is good. This is great. No, I didn't think that I shouldn't do this at all. No, that never crossed my mind. I was very, very encouraged that I had I'd followed my intuition.
Yeah.
That was the main point. I was like, wow, I did the right step, like a major right step.
You'll, the evangelical Christians will call that the Holy Spirit.
Right.
The public will call that your intuition or an inclination or something along those lines of,
correct.
I had a feeling.
Right.
Or your gut feeling.
Right.
But you can kind of refer to it either one.
Yeah.
I do like to go with intuition because it is so much more well accepted, or
right.
everyone understands what
right.
your intuition is.
Right. It's a mystery, and I like to use intuition myself because I might be digressing here, but I believe that non-Christians get intuition too.
Yeah.
Just as much. And sometimes some Christians and myself, sometimes I don't listen to my intuition. So it's like intuition is for everybody.
Right.
We'll get to that later. I actually have a cool magic trick about that. If you want to see that,
we'll
cool.
get to that. Let's finish the story in Russia.
Right. So now I'm thinking, when we get to the capital, Prague, that's when they're going to pull him off. I'm like convinced. I said that makes all the sense in the world. We get to Prague, they don't pull him off. So now we continue on up to Poland. And right before you get to Poland, at the last stop, when people get off and get on, the money changers come on. So those are men dressed in suits, and they come in with big briefcases, and they're going to exchange money with you depending on what your visa says. Now, at that time, it's because Russia and the communist countries did not have U.S. money. It was hard for them to get money, which they called hard money. So if you were going for 30 days, which is what our visa was 30 days, you had to change $15 per day with the money changers. Now that sounds like nothing. $15 is nothing. It was worth 10 times more.
Wow.
Than $15.
Yeah.
The money on the black market, the US dollars, was worth 15. Did I say 15 or 10?
It was. I think you said 10.
10. It was 10 times more. We went and ate at a 5-star restaurant.
Wow.
Where they came around with violins, chandeliers, the women in white gloves and all dressed up, 50 cents each.
Jeez.
I bought this leather bag that I kept for years till it got stolen in Peru, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
For $2.25. You know, the prices, the US dollar was so strong.
And this was in Russia?
No, this was in Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia and Poland.
Okay.
Yeah. Later on, I had to build up. You had to prove yourself to go to Russia. That was like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So the money changer comes on, and again, my partner looks at me like, what do I do? I'm like, you came this far. Plus, it's not even our money. It's the sponsors, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, change the money, you know, like, go ahead. So he changes the money, and we get in, and we get off the train. Now we're going to be supposed to be meeting 2 people from the underground church there at the airport, at the train station. But what occurred to both of us, not even speaking with each other, is there's a high probability that they're going to follow him
To find out
to get the whole network.
Yeah.
You know, like how many times here, like the police, I mean, they know a lot of the small dealers.
Yeah, let the guy go because he thinks he's getting away and just trail him
till you get the big boy.
Yeah.
Because they figured somebody's coming in with 50 Bibles. That's like 50 kilos.
Yeah.
You know, this is a big bust. This would be this. So obviously they're thinking this guy's working with a major organization that's doing this. It's not just him.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent 3 hours going through the routines that we were taught on how to see if somebody was following us. And it was so simple.
Yeah.
Now, in Europe, a lot of the train stations are malls. You know, they're malls, you know. So we went into, he would go into a restaurant and I would watch him. He would come out, he'd go to the bathroom, he'd come out, he'd go to a little store, he'd come out for 3 hours. There was nobody following him. At least that I could see. If they were following him, they were good. So then after 3 hours, we decided to meet our contacts. When we told them what we just went through, they went white as a ghost. They looked at us. I said, I think they might even have used the word, you idiots. Like they were so mad. They're like, you're being followed. And I'm like, no, we're not. I know we're not. Now, we're newbies. They don't even know us. Like they would know other people.
The level of confidence that you had that
we're newbies.
I know what I'm doing. I checked them. We're not being followed.
We're not being followed. We got this. They're like
that. Like you've outsmarted the KGB of all people.
And in our innocence, we believed that.
Yeah.
You know. And they were just like, and so because I was the one really watching, I'm like, no, there is nobody following this guy. I am 100% sure. Don't worry, there's nobody following us. At first, they didn't want to. They just wanted to just leave us there. They said the best thing for you is just turn around and go back, and we're, forget it. Mm-hmm. And we're like, no, you can't do this. We won't be able to do it again. You know, I'm pleading with him. They're like, don't abort. I know we're safe. Finally, they believed us. They take us to their house, and then we spent a month there, going to a bunch of underground churches. They would meet in the forest. In the forest. So we would take buses and then get off and then walk into the forest. And what was really interesting is I would see people come onto the bus, and there's so few Christians there. I would go, that person is coming. Like, you could see the light on them. It was so, the contrast. Because in the communist countries, believe it or not, well, it's easy to believe, the people were not happy. They were not happy. You would actually see a lot of men.
Well, you could say, believe it or not, especially nowadays, because a lot of, maybe it's Gen Z or millennials, but a lot of people, even in the U.S., are, they are more pro-communism or Marxist ideas. And I don't want to say that communism is bad. I mean, it is, but the how do you say that?
Totalitarian
whatever.
regime.
Yeah. If you have a dictator, like for instance, in the Bible, King David, he was a great king. He had complete control over everything.
Yeah.
And everybody was happy under his rule. So you can have those type of parties and actually be very successful in the same way that a republic can be successful, a democracy can be successful, or any of these can be successful. But usually when ultimate power is given into one person, people are evil by nature.
Right.
Like, for instance, I'll just say this before we go on. George Washington, many people don't realize this, is that he had so much power that he actually could have taken over. And we actually could have been a dictatorship.
Right.
But it took someone like him, and it's one reason he's so well known, is that he abdicated his power.
Right.
So the point is that even if it's a democracy or socialism, whatever it is, it's about the leaders, essentially. Like, it can be good, but it is about the leaders. And you look at anywhere in the world, any socialism, there is no, I guess, good leaders for the people. So that's what you're saying, is they weren't happy
Right.
by how things were being ran.
Right.
They might put on a show and say that they have these comforts.
they-
I'm saying the leaders may put on a show and say
the leaders, yeah.
they have these comforts, but if you get into the weeds of it, the people aren't very happy.
No, they were not. And for example, I don't know the statistics of the other countries, because I spent more time in Hungary, actually, which was one of the communist countries. And they had the highest rate of alcoholism in the world at that time under communism. And I saw numerous businessmen who you think are pretty together, right? Walking down the street with their suit, their briefcase and their tie, drunk. I've seen them fall downstairs. I've seen people so unhappy there. Like, just, so that's where I learned that, at a young age that, communism doesn't seem to be working the way it's being run, Yeah. However, I'm going to make a statement.
It's meant to be good.
Yeah, it's meant to be good. And I'm going to say something radical.
It also can be. I'll say that.
It can be. Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to say something pretty radical about Vietnam later on when we get there.
Okay.
Okay, so back to the story. So we went with them. We spent the whole month. They didn't get a knock on the door from the KGB or anything, so we were not followed. Which was quite a mystery. So what happened? You're going to find out.
Yeah, I'm very, you got me.
I got you in. So what happened is, after a month, we have to leave. You do not violate your visa in those countries. They are going to come and find you. They know you have to say where you're staying and everything. And, it's, anyways.
You're being tracked.
You're being tracked. Absolutely. So after 30 days, we decide to go, we had to go back, but we decided to go back a different route. We didn't want to go through the same borders with the same guards. Good move, right?
Yeah.
So we're going a completely different way. Now we have no more Bibles on us. We have no gospel tracts. We're clean. So I'm sitting beside him, and
I like that. We're clean.
We're clean, man, and we're happy, and it was awesome.
We don't have Bibles. We're clean.
We're clean, we're not illegal, and so we're going back, and we can't wait to tell everybody the stories and everything, right? And all of a sudden, when we get into Czechoslovakia from Poland, And you give them the passports. They go inside, they check, and all of a sudden, the lights go on inside their office, and the lights and the siren.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God! And I'm sitting beside him, and I'm like, you broke the rule. You might have to pay, because they told us never sit together. But I opted for, well, I'm just going to look out the window. Like, I don't know this guy. Like, whatever he did, I have nothing to do with this. I just happen to be in the same seat, the same thing. So they come on and they start drilling this guy, And strangely enough, the guy that, I guess he was a captain or whatever, he spoke English. Usually they didn't. And so he was speaking with him in English. And he was, really rough with him. And they're very rough. And
Yeah.
And my friend kept saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. And the more he said that, the angrier the police chief or guard chief, the security guy.
Yeah, I would be too. I mean,
yeah,
I know what you did.
I know what you did, And so, and I was feeling that. And it's like, I was thinking, the guy's he's going to punch you. That's how angry he was getting, because they knew. It's like a police officer when he knows and you're lying. They don't like it.
I'm imagining you sitting by the window. Did you look because it caused a commotion, or did you just, I'm not looking.
I'm not looking. I'm not. I have nothing to do with this guy. Like, I am looking out the window and I don't know this guy. And I'm worried. And I'm worried for him because he kept denying. Well, after a while, he got smarter, I guess. And he said the most brilliant words came out of his mouth. Like the Bible says, take no thought for what you shall speak. When he brings you before the courts and before the magistrates and the judges, he says, don't contemplate. I will give you wisdom at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So he said something which I was like, wow, good statement. He says, okay, let's assume. He's not saying he did. Let's assume I did something wrong. What is it that you're saying that I did? And they said, you came through on that day at that border crossing and you had 50 Bibles. Now, he didn't say I did it. He said, let's assume.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, after that point, the captain kind of got calm again, I guess, because he's like, okay, now the guy's working with me. And he says, do you want to know why you weren't arrested?
Oh, wow.
And he says, again, he answered very wisely. He said, okay, let's assuming that I did that. Why didn't I get arrested? He didn't say I did it. And the captain says, you were on a Polish train. The train was from Poland. Your visa included a one-day pass through Czechoslovakia, but you were under Polish law. We could not touch you.
Wow.
But this we can do. And they brought his passport and they showed him. He says, your passport is now stamped with a sign that back then was a big deal. Persona non grata. Person not desired, not desirable.
He could never enter.
It says, you will never, ever come back to any communist country. So his career was over.
Oh, wow.
With that one shot. They never talked to me. They never talked to me.
Did you ever get to go back?
Oh, yeah. I spent 3 years.
Oh, wow.
3 years.
But your first trip was that?
That was my first trip. Yeah.
What was that? It's a good thing you guys were on a Polish train. I mean, that's about the only thing that saved you.
Yeah. We had no idea. So to them, they took away the Bibles. And then that by law, that's it. That's what they
It's a victory. So did they? Do you think they actually tracked you guys?
No. They did not. They did not. They did not follow us. No, we spent 3 hours. I was sure. I was 100% sure. So after I finished with with Russia, after a while, after a couple of years, they kind of suggested that you take a break. because every time you do it, you increase the chance of you getting caught. And some people were caught and they were tortured, And I mean, I'll say it now. I don't know if you're going to cut it or not, but one guy was sent to Siberia and had his balls electrocuted.
Oh, wow.
So.
Well, I'm assuming you guys know that because he ended up back.
Right. Yeah. He ended up back, but different. I mean, he was scarred, mentally, he got tortured a lot.
I could imagine.
Yeah. And the interesting thing was that he was a rebel. He was before he met the Lord, he was a long-haired hippie in Russia, a guitar player and a singer of a famous band. So, it was kind of a contrast, but anyways, so so after 3 years, I hadn't got caught, and it's like, hey, sometimes it's better.
But the threat is serious.
Right. The threat is very serious, very serious.
What's up, peeps? It's Joseph. I have just finished editing this episode with Smiley the Clown. Guys, this dude has so many different stories. He even helped cure leprosy in Vietnam. Maybe we could do another episode on that. But if you liked this episode about the Russian mule, guys, drop a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that way we can get Smiley back on. And just, I don't know if you love the story, but I love the story. And thanks for watching. That's all I really have to say, because it is just such a pleasure to be able to create for you guys, and to be able to do this. So anyways, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again.